안녕하세요.
Oh, 안녕하세요. Yes, 안녕하세요. Thank you so much for being here at BUIDL Asia. I'm so happy to have you again. And can you kind of introduce, well, briefly about yourself? I mean, just briefly, but also why you decided to come to BUIDL Asia again.
Yeah, so I'm Victor Bunin. I helped do staking at Coinbase.
Okay, hi, Victor. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I look awfully similar to this Vitalik guy who, does Ethereum.
Okay. You look familiar too, you know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, no need for introductions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, really, I'm really curious, honestly, because it's a very small, compact conference, and I'm just, it's Seoul, it's kind of far, and
Yeah.
I'm always just surprised, like, that you decided to come here and, trust me, and I just want to, really curious from your own words, like, what made you decide to come to Seoul?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, really appreciated our, Ethereum and crypto community in Korea, and I think, events here have been great, like every year that I've come. There's a lot of interesting projects, a lot of, also just the most interesting people from all around the world manage to come every time. You know, it's always been, uniformly just a very nice place to be, so I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, I think you're very Asia friendly as well, and you speak Chinese. You've had a very good attachment to the Asian community, and and honestly, I think the events in Asia have been a little bit commercial, like in general. There's increasingly more builder focused events and technical events, but still, I think there's a lot of improvement to be made. Just wondering, what would, because you've been to so many events now by now. Just really curious from my perspective, what do you picture as a very ideal event? Meaning, in terms of pursuit of education of Web3, Ethereum, just what would be an ideal event for you, experience as well?
Well, I mean, an ideal event for me personally is not the same thing as an ideal event that I think every type of event should be, right? Because the places where I have the most fun are definitely the places where you get to actually go deep and really gets to properly understand what some of the latest ZK protocols are, and it's not just people showing projects, but you get to go deeper and actually learn things. My favorite sessions are sessions that have a relatively smaller audience where the default norm is that interrupting is good. I think you need that in order to learn, right? Because if you're just watching something, especially if it's deep math or whatever, and then there's some concept that you don't understand, then if it just keeps going, then you're basically off the railroad track for the rest of the lecture. But if you can just stop and ask, then chances are there's 10 people who are just as confused as you are. So yeah, no, I think things like that are good, and I actually think it would be interesting to experiment more with that kind of educational style. I think so. Things like that for technology are always good. Then things that help bring together different parts of the ecosystem, especially when there's just important things that we need to coordinate on. I find that's always been super valuable. That also actually using the technology is one thing I think is cool. I mean, in Zulu last year, one of the many things that happened was, ZooPass was basically born there, right? And then, which is basically this zero knowledge identity system, right? And then at DevConnect, we actually used ZooPass for ticketing, and a bunch of events are doing that in 2024, right? So, I think, your ticket should be a pope. You should use ZooPass to prove it. Payments should always be possible on chain. Just really try to. And then the slidoing should be on Farcaster.
That is true.
Yeah, really try to go deep and try to create that kind of mini village where the crypto is actually happening. Yeah. So, what other? Aside from that, I think it's just giving some really interesting and cool projects a chance to show themselves.
No, awesome. I mean, I really try to integrate
Yeah.
the payments and everything. But like as you probably know, the general public is very unfamiliar with it, and like
Yes.
how to get in millions
Yeah.
of questions, right? So there's that hurdle as an organizer as well. But thank you for the
course.
feedback.
I
And
think you need both, right?
yeah,
Yeah, maybe even
both options. Yeah.
exactly. Maybe some future year even like organize like both or all three in parallel.
That's a good idea. I'll definitely take that into account.
Mm.
I'm speaking of Zuzalu. You were in that experiment for some time, and you kind of like supported that throughout the way. Wondering like where that initiative comes from, and also like what you kind of learned from the experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think where it came from is that there's been a lot of this excitement around creating, not even just in the crypto space, like broadly, right? Creating new cities, creating new countries, creating new societies, like whether we mean like online or offline. And a lot of people kind of keep talking about this, and I wanted to like help push the conversation into, from just theory to practice, and like basically make a real life demonstration of like what happens if you try to actually do this thing, and give people a reference point of like this is what one like actually executed in reality would look like.
Yeah.
And so it was intentionally brought together people from some different communities, a bunch from Ethereum, a bunch from longevity, some from just general like decentralized governance research and some other spaces, and stayed together for 2 months, and like basically tried to like actually be a pop-up city. So now this year there's a bunch of independent groups that have been doing that, and a quadratic funding round recently finished. So yeah, there's a bunch happening. There's likely going to be a bunch in Thailand later this year, one in Taiwan as well.
Edge City too, right? I mean,
Yes, Edge City as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think one in Georgia too.
Georgia. That's great.
Yeah, the country, not the state. Yes.
Oh yes, no,
Yes,
I would love to hope that it's a country.
both.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to these because I think, look, one of the things that I want to see out of crypto is that I want to see us like be an ecosystem and like be a tech stack more, right? Like instead of everyone building like these separate small incremental moves away from a centralized world that still keep us mostly in a centralized world, like basically imagine you're creating an independent tech stack that is independent from Google and Twitter and Facebook and credit cards to at least the same extent that like say the Chinese tech stack is, right? And like make like full stack replacement for that, but decentralized, right?
Yeah.
And I think for things like that to work, like having both users and developers across a whole bunch of different spaces come together is going to be really valuable because you get to actually see how things interact with each other. Also, like people working on one piece are not going to be experts in the other piece, and so you actually get some like feedback from people who are informed enough to be able to give the high quality feedback, but still like noob enough that they don't just like brush past things that are actually super hard for most people. And then you actually make some progress and go from there. So I would love to see Ethereum community doing more of those things.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I really like the long-term experiments where like I realistically could not like implement it, but I would love to do it someday.
Yeah, no, I think the long-term aspect is important, right?
Yeah.
It's like a week is a break from your life, 2 months is your life, and it's just a very different mindset that you get
It becomes
into.
a routine out of it.
Yes.
And you can really...
It becomes a routine, and the novelty wears off, and the things that are only bearable because you're going away in 4 days are start to become unbearable. You have to actually fix them, and like you actually start to get to see like is this a thing that people actually would be willing to be part of for a long term.
That's a really good, refreshing. I really would love to try it in Thailand, perhaps. This upcoming Thailand DEF CON, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Farcaster, right? I mean, you made this switch. Well, you are definitely more on Farcaster these days. And what made you kind of transition from X to Farcaster?
Yeah, I think, I've been enthusiastic about decentralized social media for a long time. Like, remember back in Paris about 2 years ago, I made a big, presentation of like crypto beyond finance, and that was the big, one of the big categories I was highlighting.
Yep.
And And I've since then I've tried like all of the different alt Twitters, right? So I've done Lens. I definitely still like post on Lens regularly as well. I've done the non-crypto-y ones, especially Blue Sky and Mastodon.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I've noticed is that Farcaster does a good job of being both crypto-y and like actually easy enough to use. Like there's basic hurdles that I think Farcaster gets past that like even Lens doesn't get past. Like for example with Lens, like when every time I re-access the page, like I have to re-sign in, right? And with Farcaster you stay signed in.
Yeah, that's what I realized too. Very.
Yeah, like it feels very Web 2 like, right?
It does,
and I mean, for people who have never used crypto before, they also will offer the thing where you can provide a phone number and then sign in, and then they like set up the FID for you, right? And so at the beginning it feels Web 2, and then over time it's if you want to start becoming more of a Web 3 user, you can, right? Like one of my big pain points for centralized stuff, right, is that so the argument that people sometimes say, right, is that well, decentralized stuff is only really useful for criminals, and if you're not a criminal, then like if you have a problem, you can talk to Google, and Google solves all your problems, so centralized stuff is better, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So here's the problem: it's not actually true. So for example, let's say I have a Gmail account, literally right now, and I used this Gmail account for a long time, but then I switched to another one, and so I stopped using it, did not access it for years. Recently, I decided to go try to access it again. I still perfectly remembered my password. I remembered my email, but Google has started requiring a phone number confirmation to sign in, and on that account, I had an old phone number registered that I no longer have.
I got the same process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I went on the internet and I checked, is there some support recovery procedure? There isn't.
No.
And so I am screwed, right? And basically, now let's see what happens with my Warpcast account. So with my Warpcast account, I can actually set the recovery to actually be my Gnosis safe, right? And that's a 4 of 6 multisig, and I know who the key holders are, and it's a distributed thing, and I trust it, right? And there's no single corporation that's going to be able to rug me, but at the same time, I actually, if I do lose my devices, that is the multisig is still a thing that I can recover, right? So that's one of the examples where I think the crypto integration actually really helps. And another place where the crypto integration helps is that Farcaster does actually have functional alternate clients, right? So the big pitch of this the whole time, right, has basically been that it's like content view separation, right? Like you have one place where all the content is stored, and the content is a thing that's not owned by anyone. And then instead of different people creating different social media universes, different people are basically selling different glasses to the same content, right? And so if you're not satisfied with Warpcast, you can go start your own. And you don't have to start your network effect from scratch, right? Like you can already, if you're integrated with the Farcaster chain, see all of the existing posts, and you can post your own posts to the same chain. And there are already alternate clients, like Flink is the big one, right, that already do this. Flink is fun, right, because it makes the same content that Warpcast makes look like a Twitter, look like a Reddit, right? So, you have the same, the chain, which is just like a data dump, and there's lots of stuff there. And you can wear the purple glasses and it looks like a Twitter, and then you wear the green glasses, or I forget whatever the color Flink has, and it looks like a Reddit, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually functional, right? And so I think it's a good example of something that actually uses the chain and actually really gets benefits from being the chain, but at the same time it has these this pretty high standard of convenience and user experience.
Yeah.
And the thing that you notice is that people are on it for a long time for reasons that don't have to do with money making, right? Before this, people would, the influencers, they'd often not even, instead of saying decentralized social, they'd say social fi, right? Because the only thing they can imagine is that the only way to improve crypto or the only way to improve social with crypto is by making it into a Ponzi.
Exactly.
Right.
The points and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we got to see how there are all these platforms like, oh, you can invest in people and everyone has their own meme coin.
The friend tech, right?
Yes. Well, there's one. Actually, I think it's like not even the first one. There are like 5 of them before, right? And
that's true.
that's
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's like in theory you get the pitch, but then in practice it's like there's the number of like I think the people that are attracted to the gambling and the people that are attracted to making interesting content are like almost disjoint.
Yes.
And on Farcaster, like people are there, including people that don't even care a single bit about making money, and that's I think that's beautiful, right? So I think it's to me Farcaster, like before this, I would always say ENS is like the single biggest non-financial crypto app that's actually gotten somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think Farcaster is the second biggest. And well, now I think ENS itself, it needs to like more properly layer 2ify itself to not like overcharge on fees, but that's another discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's making progress.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for that. I think a lot of people, Elon Musk was asking on X, remember?
Yes.
Did you see that? Why
He
did
did,
you
yeah.
X and stuff like that?
Yeah. I haven't left, right? Like I still,
you haven't
I read it I read it like every day. Still, actually I think I made a post today and yesterday. So it's, but Farcaster is definitely still a very high quality thing, and I think as an ecosystem, we should be kind of supporting our own so we can actually start making those cross links.
No, I really applaud that you're supporting these projects that are really trying to make a good use case, right?
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of which, so like we just saw the article that just popped out of our Q&A session and your keynote. I think people were curious about your thoughts on metaverse, right? They wanted kind of you to elaborate more, and it would be nice to kind of clarify a little bit more on that because it was a very short answer, right? I guess what you envision as an ideal metaverse or so called, and why have previous attempts have failed in the past, for example?
Yeah, I think the metaverse is one of those things where the vision and the vibe are like 10 steps ahead of the concrete use case, right? And look, maybe to some extent it has that in common with crypto, but it has that in common with a lot of these modern things, right? But I guess these days, AI is like powering ahead with the direct utility, but I think this decade, crypto is definitely catching up more. But the thing that people clearly want, right, is like people like the idea of a virtual world. People, like the idea of this thing where everyone in the world can be connected, and where you put on your glasses and
alter ego kind of thing.
And like even if you're a like $170 a month worker in northeastern Nepal, like if you just get gifted this like one-time thing, then you're basically right up there with the big boys in San Francisco, right? And you get the same aesthetics, you get like the same experience, and like that's also a beautiful vision. People want people want global connectedness. People wants to create shared spaces. People want to be able to bounce between different communities and be part of all of them. And these things are all great. But then there's like the beautiful vision, and then there's like, well, what are the specific technologies that implement it? And I think for a long time there's been the impression of that this is just going to happen when we have good enough VR, right? And like it feels like we're getting closer and closer to it. I tried the Vision Pro.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay, so I tried the Vision Pro. It was like interesting, right? Because you put it on and it does just like look like you're in a room, and like the pass-through cameras work great. And I tried the on-screen keyboard. I did a typing test and I got 15 words per minute. Which
15?
Yes, 1.5. Yes, normally I get on real keyboards I get 80 plus, right?
Yeah.
So that's
takes some practice.
Yeah, it takes some, but even still, right? And it's and like it feels like it's at the point where it's powerful enough to like dazzle people on the first day.
Yeah.
But then if you want the practical like benefit, like a lot of people after a month, they basically end up putting it on the shelf. But it feels like it's no longer in the category of things that you can laugh at, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Apple Vision Pro is definitely crazy expensive, and no $170 workers in Nepal are getting it, right? But like the Quest is reasonable. I mean, I tried a couple of the others, and there's definitely things at like much more reasonable price points. So like you can see how it's getting there, right? And the other aspect of this is the crypto aspect, and there's like the virtual economy aspect, and then I think one other aspect that excited people is like what people want is global connectedness. What people don't want is global connectedness where everything ends up being owned by like one billionaire and 5 VCs out of Silicon Valley, right? And there's, I think, this hope that like maybe crypto could come in and we could actually have the thing be owned by a DAO somehow, right? Or it could be a DAO, that's one vision, or the other vision is like lots of different people could own their own rooms, but there would be some kind of like minimal inter-protocol, like the hallways would run on a blockchain basically. And like something like that could be figured out and it would actually make sense. And like I think this stuff is nice and like the technology is getting there to satisfy it all theoretically, right? Like theoretically, the VR side is getting there. Now we have Ethereum has blobs, we have scalability, and with scalability we can get to the points where we're actually processing these like non-financial metaverse-related operations on chain, and that's all beautiful. But like it still feels vibe level, and the question of like why would I or why would you hop into a metaverse, like it still feels not quite answered.
Yes. Premature. Probably.
Premature, exactly. So I guess I'm still waiting, cautiously observing, curious. Well, like I'm happy that there's other people waiting and trying to poke into it, and like people that actually care about trying to preempt the Silicon Valley mega corporation with like some kind of more open approach, and we'll see what we get.
Meme coins.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a panel. I think meme coins are inevitably the topic of crypto. And of course, there's strong opinions, negative, positive. I mean, what are your general thoughts on it? Can you explain a little bit?
I think one of the challenges of like this crypto cycle that I think really need to get past is like it feels like the number go up narrative and the social good narrative are like very disjoint from each other, right? Like if you talk to number go up people, they talk about one set of things. If you talk to social good people, then they're gonna tell you about the ZK and the social and like voting and governance algorithms and like a whole set of other things. And like the intersection of these two is like zero.
Discrepancies.
And I feel like this really shows in the meme coin discourse as well, right? And I think one thing that was interesting, I just got reminded yesterday that about 10 years ago, I wrote this post actually, a couple of weeks before Ethereum was announced. The title is Markets, Institutions, and Currencies. And one of the big theme is basically that like we have these three mechanisms that can fund like basically important large-scale projects, and markets are one, and like institutions, which could include governments, could include large corporations, is another, and then there are lots of things that both of those miss, right? And so I was wondering, like maybe like coins could actually fill the third gap, right? And the kind of very vague idea at the time is like, hey, you could have cancer research coin, and it would have like a DAO that would allocate and like issue tokens for cancer research, and people who care about cancer could like hold and actually transact in the coin, and then you could have like let's say anti-global warming coin, and people who really care about the climate could like buy that coin, and then you would fund like carbon removal and solar panels, right? And just like keep going from there, right? and this article kind of got forgotten a bunch, including even by me, right? And then over the last few years, we started to actually have meme coins, and like then you start to realize that like wait, meme coins actually are like literally exactly this, right? But what's interesting is like there's people who really hate meme coins, and then the people who like meme coins, it's like they don't even try to like make the meme coins good for the world, right? It's actually there are a few that do, right? Like I think like there was one that's called like Tyrant, and it's like named after Fable of the Dragon Tyrant, and it tried to like donate to longevity stuff.
Oh, interesting.
There's one called Give Well Inu, which donated to Give Well, right? Like there's a few. I mean, I don't know. I feel, but I feel like it's worth mentioning their names once, just it's like marginal incentivization, right?
Yes.
But there's like most of them, like they don't even try, right? And so the question, like to me, the ideal world is the world where I think these two inevitable sides of crypto, kind of the idealistic side and the money side, instead of being at war with each other, or instead of just completely ignoring with each other, like there's some kind of confluence that somehow gets created between the two. But I don't actually know like what concretely that would look like, right? Like the ideal world, I think, right, is where like the crypto space actually can somehow become a source of like alternative funding for like really important high quality projects, right? And that would be like super amazing to see. But I think the challenge right now is like the people who have a vision are not able to like rally the capital, and the people who are able to rally the capital don't really care about the vision. And like in my ideal world, we'd find a way to fix that. But yeah, and I'm not sure like how like what it actually takes to get us from here to there. But, we'll see.
Yeah, it's right now kind of up only kind of mindset at this point.
Indeed,
for meme coins.
It is. I mean, it's it's kind of good that I think we got a pretty sharp down fairly early. Just reminds people that the down direction exists.
Absolutely.
I think
the risk is pretty big.
Indeed, when people forget that the down direction exists, that's when you're about to get to the real edge of the cliff.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think it's just definitely a hype and a phase, but I think people will definitely learn from it as well, and hopefully it'll go for the better direction. I mean, I just mentioned to you that I really liked your post on your personal reflections, like turning 30, right? I mean, just a personal question, but just like, are there any other interests that you kind of emerged since you kind of turned into that era, the 30s era? I mean, you just turned, right?
So are you asking, are there any interests
that
emerged in the last 2 months of my life?
Well, it's a new year, right? I don't know. Anything that you kind of want to try out? I mean, you did mention about like online education. I mean, you kind of
right,
or something of that sort.
Yeah, some interesting one. Oh, I mean, actually, definitely like small random things. Like one thing that I've realized, like one very positive thing that I think has come out of AI is that it does make it easier to just like learn and quickly do things in new spaces.
Yes.
Like Noah Smith wrote this article, I think either a few months or a year back, about how AI disproportionately benefits the noobs. Like, and I think that's actually true. Like in my personal experience, the place where I get the most benefit from talking to GPT or talking to Mixtral is not when I'm doing something I'm already an expert in, but where I'm doing something where like I'm learning it for the first time, right?
Exactly.
And so I've done this a few times. Like I've it's helped me write Chrome extensions for myself. The most recent one is I did this post actually I just published this morning where I'm analyzing correlations between when different validators like either go offline or like fail to get their attestations included. Basically, the idea trying to measure centralization and decentralization and find ways to incentivize decentralization more. And one of the challenges there is that to do that kind of analysis, it's like a big data task, right? Because we're basically talking about 1 million validators over 10,000 slots, right? And if you do that in Python, you run out of memory. And I actually like finally like properly learned how to like code with NumPy, which is basically like Python, except you're doing everything with vectors. And so all of the hard stuff actually gets done in C, and it just kind of like gets wrapped for you. And I just implemented a bunch of logic that way. So yeah, and like the bots actually like helped make that learning a lot easier for me. So yeah, I think like this is let's see, what else have I? Also, I finally managed to install Arch Linux, which is like a famously difficult Linux distro to install. Yeah, but I think we are entering a golden age of personal hobbying, and that's something that I actually think would encourage like anyone here to like get into more. Just like expand the horizons of like what you think is possible for you.
And like I think the AI definitely lowered the entry barrier for
It has,
new fields for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, final question. To the people who's watching, I mean, I think due to the bull market, I guess thanks to it as well, many new people are showing more interest as well. Maybe word of advice or recommendation or suggestion, like what to look for, what to kind of not look for, something like that. Maybe final words.
So sorry, recommendations, what to look for, not to look for
for the community, kind of like coming into Web3 or looking into Ethereum.
And I think the thing that we need to focus on at the current time is like really find things that make sense from the point of view of principles, and that makes sense from the point of view of like, are users going to be willing to do this, right? And like, you can't sacrifice on either one, right? Because if you sacrifice on the principles, eventually you get outcompeted by a centralized thing that just forgets the blockchain. And if you like sacrifice on usability, then like you're not gonna go beyond like a few thousand tech geeks as your users. And like basically, we are not building prototypes anymore, right? And I think we need to fully internalize that, and fully internalize that for example, everything that we're building, everything that is built from here on needs to be layer 2 first. Everything that is built from here on, if it's like attestations, identity, reputation based, needs to be ZK first. So like we love Pope, right? But Pope like really needs to become ZK first ASAP. And like Zeus stamps exist, right? So there's definitely independent implementations going in that direction. Needs to be account abstraction first, right? Like basically like really build with the 2020s mindset, right? And I think if we do that, then I'm going to actually have a chance at making something really meaningful and successful.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you
really
too,
appreciate your insights, and always love having you here. I really want to like contribute to the Ethereum community and be a passionate community builder.
Of course. Thank you.